Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Beer versus Beer. Today I've got another German showdown. As I mentioned last time, I was pitting the Paulaner Hefe-Weizen versus the Franziskaner Premium Weissbier to see which one would go up against the Weihenstephaner Hefe-Weissbier. And since Paulaner won, it's the second time it has won. It won the first time against Tucha. It gets to go. Now, admittedly, last time was sort of a toss-up. I could have seen it going either way. It wasn't a clear win. I could have easily picked Franziskaner as well. But in the end, I did say Paulaner, so we're going to stick with it. And while a three-way comparison would have been intriguing, I don't know if it would have done much good. So we're just going to do the Paulaner versus the Weihenstephaner. And yeah, so the Weihenstephaner is, I believe, lower in ABV. Oh, barely. It's like 5.4% versus the Paulaner, which I believe is 5.5. I don't remember if I said last time which of the two, the Paulaner or the Franziskaner, was higher. I don't remember if I mentioned to say. I think the Franziskaner is only 5, so I think it's the lowest of the three. But, you know, feel free to check that on your own and correct me if I'm wrong. How much we got left here? All right, still quite a bit. All right, so we've got the Andex glasses again. As you guys know, I'm a big Andex fan. I wanted to use the same glasses for this, especially being wheat beers, and I didn't want to put the Weihenstephaner in its own glass for this review. I need to get another glass Moss Stein, or they don't call them Steins over there, but you know what I mean. I need to get one at some point so that I can do more tests using that Weihenstephaner one. All right, getting some sediment in there, but I couldn't finish pouring it out because it's getting too close to the top. Get some of that out. Right away, it's one thing I do notice. The Weihenstephaner seems to tend to have chunks of yeast, like very chunky amount of yeast. I'm going to have to wait a little bit. I can't fit these in the glass. Well, while we're waiting on that, why don't we go ahead and compare the darkness? Oh man, they're very, very close. I don't even know if I switch sides. All right, the Paulaner might be a smidgen darker in the very, very center, but I don't know how much of that is because of the thicker head going on right now. They're very, very close in color. But from this vantage point, I do think the Paulaner, well, I don't know, it's very, very close. They look darker on my screen right now than they do in person. They both look more yellowy than they do on the screen. But very close in color, not really much between them, so not really a factor anyway. I do like darker just aesthetically. Although in Weissbiers, doesn't matter to me as much. Anywhere between yellow and orange is fine. At least on the Helles Weissbiers. Very similar. Don't notice any carbonation difference. No, pretty similar. All right, I guess it's Munich versus Freising. All right. Yeah, that's pretty much completely done. So there's still some left in the bottom. Try to get as much of the Paulaner yeast out as I can. It's really hard because it just Yeah, I see it. Got that sediment floating down. Yeah, so the Weihenstephaner tends to come down in more chunks, whereas the Paulaner seems to get more cloudy when I get the yeast out. That's an interesting difference. Also, kind of surprised at how much more head the Paulaner seems to get. I don't know, maybe that's a can versus bottle issue more than a brand issue. Bless me. All right. Sorry about that. I've been having allergies the last few days. It's currently October when I'm filming this. I don't know when it will release. Hint, I haven't even started the channel yet. Kind of a reveal. Anyway, we got the Weihenstephaner Weissbier and the Paulaner Hefeweizen. I mean, packaging, of course, I think you have to give the Weihenstephaner, but it's not really fair when you're comparing a nice bottle to a can. Sometimes the cans actually do better taste-wise, though. All right, so let's go ahead and, I'm not sure which one to start with, but I've got more room in this glass, so I'm going to start with that. Oh, wow. Now, I noticed on Beer Advocate last time, the Paulaner was actually rated 10th and the Franziskaner 8th, but they both got a score of 91. I didn't look up, or I don't remember the score that Weihenstephaner got, other than the fact that it was first, which means, according to Beer Advocate, this is the best Hefe-Weizen in the world, which I don't doubt. I've told you guys numerous times that the first Weissbier that I remember having was a Schneider Weiss. It's possible I had one before that, and I'm just remembering the first time one blew me away. But I don't know which tap it was. I just remember a bottle of Schneider Weiss, and I can't even picture it at this point. And that the tap 7 that I usually find around here does not meet the memories that I had. It's still very good, but it doesn't meet it. I do need to bring that into these battles at some point, though. Oh, wow. Very, to me, I don't know. It's the banana clove as usual, like all Weiss beers. Huh. I'd say the Weihenstephaner is overall better, less muted. Of course, having a thicker head does tend to mute the scent a little bit, so that could have something to do with it. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Prost. Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, I'm not going to lie, that's going to be tough to beat. Yeah, that's good. Great balance of the banana and clove. Almost melding into like one unified flavor. Wow. Sorry for my allergies, guys. That's really, really good. Paulaner. Very good. I'm noticing the orange a little bit again. Yeah, which I really actually like. I mean, I like a good wit beer. So I do like the orange and coriander notes that you find in wit beers. I think overall I still prefer Hefeweizens and Weissbier, German Weissbiers, to Belgian wit beers. I've never really done a direct comparison between the two, so maybe that's something to consider in the future. I do have a St. Bernardus wit in the fridge that's been sitting there. I need to find a comparison. Maybe I'll do a comparison with Hogarden or something else. I don't know. But yeah, I do like that orange that I'm getting out of the Paulaner, which I don't always get out of German Weissbiers. Very smooth. Almost no bitterness whatsoever, which I actually tend to like. I know the hop craze is a thing, but I never jumped on that train. Okay. Yeah. So the Weihenstephaner is a little bit more intense. So it is actually more similar to the Franziskaner in that regard. It also has, I think, more effervescence than the Paulaner. So maybe I should have compared this with the Franziskaner. Possible future battle, just for good measure. This is going to be hard, but I do get more flavors. I get more banana and clove out of this. I'm sorry for the shaky camera always. I apologize. It has to do with my setup. So this is more flavorful, but I don't get the orange note that I like on the Paulaner. Well, maybe there is a little, if you think about orange, then you start tasting it. Man. I gotta think about which one I would go back and get. Paulaner is very good. It is. It's very good. I mean, this beats most beers you're going to find in a grocery store. Also a great price. Not that expensive. Especially for the cans. A little bit of bitterness there at the end, but I mean, not much. Really more of a zestiness. Very delightful. All right, I gotta keep these videos down. All right. Not quite as effervescent as the Franziskaner, but definitely more effervescent than the Paulaner. More flavor, more of the banana clove that you think of with Weissbiers. The Paulaner is very good, especially that orange note, but it is more flat and less complex, and almost like something's been hollowed out in comparison between these two. Yeah, I mean, I have to go Weihenstephaner. I wanted to try to give Paulaner a fair shake, but it's pretty obvious that the Weihenstephaner is the better. So now what would be interesting is to compare Andex, which lost to Weihenstephaner, against Paulaner or Franziskaner and the like. Because as you guys know, I'm a huge Andex fan, in case you couldn't tell. but it always seems to lose to Weihenstephaner, which almost upsets me. I apologize. It is what it is, though. Weihenstephaner just deserves every win it gets, and well, part of my heart wants to say that Ondex is my favorite brewer. It might be my second to Weihenstephaner. Similar to how I really love Arsenal, and when I was comparing teams to support many, many years ago, Arsenal won my head, but Liverpool won my heart. And so it's Liverpool, Arsenal. Seems to be right now Weihenstephaner, Ondex. Ondex being the second best, even though although in this case it might be kind of the opposite, because my head is Weihenstephaner and my heart's Ondex. But I have to acknowledge that I think Weihenstephaner head-to-head always seems to win. That being said, both great breweries. And Paulaner, I have to give it credit. Look, Paulaner is an excellent brewer, and they make very delicious beers at reasonable prices for an import from Germany. So does Franziskaner. I mean, these are great beers. So you really can't go wrong with either one. Might depend on availability, price point, that sort of thing. But if we're just talking about flavor, taste, then have to give it to Weihenstephaner. All right, take care. We'll see you in the next one.